Hi, and welcome to another epic conversation. I'm really excited to introduce you to Ivan Richards. I'm really excited for this chance to get to know you better. Hi, Ivan. Welcome.
Well, hello there, Katie. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
So I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and I do my best to represent him well as I can in my humanity. So I am from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I currently live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is where my wife is from. I only left New Orleans because of Hurricane Katrina, and me and her were good friends, and connected some dots and did some things, and yeah, been married for about 15 years. So I am, I'm a techie is the best way that I would describe myself. I'm kind of into all things consumer tech. I would describe myself as an intellectual. I have consumed in my lifetime a lot of books on race and religion, not so much religion, but more so like Christianity and sociology and psychology. That's something that happens with a lot of Black folks because we deal with so much pain in our community that we tend to want to go into areas of study where we can have the most impact in our communities, because it's tough being Black. We we manage, but it's tough. It weighs on you. I'm an introvert, so I don't like necessarily having meaningless conversations and banter and stuff like that. I kind of like to dig a little deeper. So yeah.
So you and your beautiful wife and your kids, you have this like family vlog, and I sometimes like to pop over there and hang out with you guys for a little bit. I think it's really interesting how you're so open about your disagreements and how you're in the things that you just kind of butt heads about. And I'm curious, like, do you ever have disagreements when you're recording a vlog and one of you is a little bit like, I don't think I want this to be in there, and the other one's like, no, let's show people the truth about what's going on?
So we started doing vlogs for family and friends distant, but then we kind of got into vlogging, and our main focus was really to be like real and honest and transparent as is reasonable, or as reasonable as we can be with that. So we've never had a situation where one of the other parties has said, no, I don't want to do that right now. Now, granted, we don't necessarily have a whole lot of conversations live, but we have decided in some instances that, once I would say me more than Dell, once the dust settles, we can kind of talk about it on camera. I don't know if you know this, but you're a woman, you're married. The first time you talk about something, it can be a little bit more emotional. And I feel like you have to be in a space where you're kind of being receptive as a husband versus willing to discuss it. So we will probably get a whole lot of footage of Dell talking about why she's mad with me or upset with me or disappointed in me and so on and so forth. So we don't really have a whole lot of conversations where one person is like, well, no, we're not going to talk about that right now. Interestingly enough, I did ask Dell. I feel like I told her, I was like, I feel like I don't have permission to vlog freely. And not because of her, but I've just never asked. And I'm the more private person than she is. Typically, I've opened up a lot to vlogging. I'm the more private person, so I default to respecting someone's privacy. Whereas like my wife, she speaks freely. She has her opinions freely. I mean, she won't put your business out in the street or anything like that, but she's an open book. I like to tell people I'm open, but I'm not forward. And my wife is like forward and open. So we want to start a podcast. So that will be more like marriage focused and conversation focused and things to do with us and other couples, and not necessarily anyway, I'm over elaborating. We want to do a marriage podcast.
What is your favorite thing about making videos, and what is your least favorite thing?
I thoroughly enjoy making videos. My favorite thing about making videos is that as a family vlogger, it's not necessarily help-based content or information-based content. It's content that will fall into the entertainment bracket. So we get to have those memories for as long as YouTube and our hard drives hold up. I remember one of your compliments to us was that, we do a really good job with vlogging and keeping it moving and not being boring and stuff like that. So thank you for that. We appreciate that compliment. But that's my favorite thing. My least favorite thing, I don't know if I have one. There's no real downside to vlogging outside of trying to find success on the platform and not really knowing how to do that. I record on an iPhone 7. I actually just got a new camera, which I'm recording on now, which is the Osmo Action. I got it for a pretty good deal. Sometimes Dell doesn't really understand as well as I do the process of being a YouTuber and vlogging. So we have had some conversations that have been like a little bit rough because I have all of this information and she just has her thoughts and her feelings and her opinions based on her as a not even a watcher of YouTube, but just as a creative participant in the process. So that can be a little bit like, man, trying to get her to kind of see the bigger picture as well as I understand it because I'm a novice too, I guess the time that it takes to edit, I've gotten a lot faster at that. That was like something that wasn't my favorite thing, like getting behind in footage. So let's go with that, getting behind in footage. That's my least favorite thing.
How long have you been married, and what have you learned in that time?
Ooh, so this ties right into the marriage podcast a bit in terms of, things that we've learned over the years because we've been married for about 15 years. We got married very young. Della and I were in our early 20s when we got married. We're approaching 40 now. So something that I learned very early on in marriage is that as the man, you have to be stronger than your spouse. And what I mean by that is you have a responsibility, like marriage isn't fair from the man's perspective. And I imagine that women may feel that way too, but just as a believer, as someone who, according to the faith, needs to try and model Christ-like behavior in your marriage. Which is like being forgiving and being sacrificial and serving and stuff like that. It's like you don't necessarily get to live in moments where you feel like this is not fair that she feels this way. Now, that's something I learned early on. I don't necessarily learn, I've accepted that, over the years. Like I said, we've been married a while. Marriage will work out your kinks if you want to have a good one. We call them sandpaper moments. But basically, you come into contact with this person constantly, especially as an introvert, because introverts aren't necessarily people-centric. I always like to say extroverts are better at people stuff because you've had more practice. You know what I mean? It's like you like having people around. We like having people around, but we're not energized by large groups and stuff like that. We're drained. So our people interaction, depending on what kind of introvert you are, can be at a minimum. So you bring that into marriage, specifically as a husband, and yet sometimes you're not as thoughtful. You know what I mean? You're not as sacrificial and things like that. So marriage will work things out of you. There's a book called Sacred Marriage where he talks about what if marriage wasn't about you being happy, but it was about making you holy. And I think that a lot of us, especially believers who've been in it for a while, can relate to the idea that marriage does do something spiritual to you. It's something that God instituted. So I believe that, and I believe that he has to help us navigate it well. That's something that I've learned.
I'm curious, how do you like to spend your alone time?
Now, that is an interesting question because as an introvert and an overall homebody for the most part, and during this pandemic and being home a lot, I don't necessarily get a whole lot of alone time. But when my wife gives me breaks, we've kind of been having this conversation about, well, she will tell me like, do you spend your time well? And I was like, what, why does it matter how I spend my time, my alone time? Because I guess she wants me to feel like rejuvenated and refreshed, and that doesn't necessarily happen. I don't know if that's even possible.
So, what does Dell do that makes you happy?
This one is hard. Um, what does she do that makes me happy? I don't know. I mean, she's my life partner. Um, she's an excellent wife. She's an excellent mother to my kids. I'm happy about that. But I feel like I married well. You know what I mean? Like, my wife is dope. I guess that makes me happy. I don't, happy is such an interesting word. I'm very content in life. My wife makes me happy in that she doesn't make me sad. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to. That's a tough one to answer. You know what I mean? She's her. That makes me happy, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if I'm not in tune with happiness. She loves me well. She loves our children well. You know what I mean? That's she is respectful. She is mindful of me. She understands me. You know what I mean? So it's just like she's dope. She's dope. So one thing I do want to know is, what is life really like where you live? I feel like, I've checked out your videos periodically. I'm sure I'm not in your target audience. So um, I've checked out your videos periodically, and I just wonder, what is that life like? I don't know how early you went over there. I do feel like it was missionary related in some capacity. So I imagine you left the US very young comparatively, and I guess in your 20s in some respect. I think you were like performing or something like that. Compared to the US.
I was really young when I left home to go on the road to join a traveling theater company called Covenant Players. I was 19, barely 19. I traveled around the US for 2 years, and then I went to Europe on my 21st birthday. I don't know how to compare things to the US anymore. I've spent so many years here. Like, I've been married to my Swedish husband for 10 years now, and our entire marriage was spent traveling around, performing plays, staying in people's houses all over Germany, all over France, all over South Africa. I have so many other comparisons, so many other countries to compare my life's perspectives to than America. But I mean, some weird small things that to compare Sweden and America to. It's a lot easier to find healthy food. People are a lot more recycling conscious. Like, it's not just something that the liberals do, It's not like a politicized thing where some people do it and some people don't. It's like everybody recycles. So there's a huge difference in the mentality. Like, for example, an American, not all, you know what I mean. An American will have a t-shirt on that's like, big, bold opinion. Be like, this is my opinion, fight me. And Swedes, that would just be really, really awful. They don't want to see people's opinions. They don't want to offend anyone. You keep things inside. You don't share them. You don't make other people talk about them.
How do you feel about like the health of your marriage? Like, how is married life, And it's tough to ask these questions because these are questions that I have for you as a real person and not necessarily for public consumption. But I'm very interested in how people are doing in their marriages. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily want marriages to fail. Like, are you joyful? Are you guys in a rut at the moment? Are you nice and loving towards each other? Like, what's the temperature of your marriage right now? That's an easy question to answer, I should say.
Ooh, what a juicy, difficult, layer-filled question. Sometimes it's like we're housemates. Sometimes it's like we want to spend time together. We'll watch some TV show, then we'll both go our separate ways and do our separate hobbies. And we always do eventually like want to talk and connect emotionally again and stuff, but it's just really, really hard when you're just tired from all the other things that are having to happen in life. And I do miss, in a way, not in all the ways, but in some ways I do miss working with him, when we were putting together plays, when we were a team that needed to talk together all the time.
How are you doing over there? Is life hard? Is it more difficult there? Have you adjusted really well?
I have adjusted pretty well. I do kind of wish my Swedish was better, but there's nothing stopping me from having conversations. It's a hard time for everyone right now. It's hard to like make friends, or to, you know, be able to see the friends that we have. Like, you know, if we have any colds or coldish symptoms, we don't see anyone. It definitely is lonely. I don't know what I would do without the internet, especially without YouTube to help me to connect.
What are your dreams for your YouTube channel? What do you strongly desire? If you know you could hope it would go the way that you want it to go.
I would like to connect with the kindest, most generous, most thoughtful people who feel alone in their weirdness, who feel misunderstood and awkward, and just create a space to connect. I'd like to get that 100,000 plaque. Yeah, buddy, that 1,000,000 plaque. How are your feelings about that? Like what you would like to see come out of your channel?
I would love for our channel to blow up. I think that that would be dope. I'd love to make some coins from it too. That would be awesome. I'd love to be able to create content full time in a way that was scalable and didn't draw or drain me. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for watching our videos. However frequently or infrequently you watch them, I thank you for your very intentional, thoughtful, and what's the word? Expository? Your comments are very they are thoughtful. You expound. You don't just leave a one-liner. And my wife is always like, man, I want to go back and respond to Katie. I appreciate her commenting so much. And she often says, I agree with her so much. So just thank you for being a part of our digital community on YouTube. I appreciate it. I hope all is well with you and your family. And I look forward to seeing the finished product. This was fun. This was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you so much for doing this. And I want to say thank you to everyone else who watched. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the things that we talked about. And don't forget to give this video a like, because the algorithm likes that, and hopefully we'll push this video out further. So I want to say hugs. And for those of you who don't know me, who maybe followed over from Ivan, don't be scared. But this is one of the ways I like to end my videos. It's like this. Nostrils of death. I know, I'm weird. Sorry.